Welcome to NASPA Tonight. I'm your host, Josh Greenway. This is the weekly show where we talk about all things Scrabble. I want to thank you for joining me. I see people popping in on my personal feed, on the NASPA page, and the NASPA group. I've got my eye on all of those comment sections. So if you've got something to say, please do so. Tonight we're doing something a little different. We did this once before. It seemed to go okay, so I hope it's going to go okay again tonight. I am guestless. I am solo here tonight, where there's enough content out there that we are just going to focus on that this week. And as a result, the show will be a little more compact. It might live up to the original intention of 25 minutes or less. So we'll see. Keep your fingers crossed. So here's what we're talking about this week. We're talking about Niagara Falls. We're also talking about Nashville, which was a 50-person tournament or so that happened this weekend. And there are a few other news items. One of the things that we teased this week was some potentially shocking news from Will Anderson. You're going to have to wait for that if that's what you came here for specifically. We're going to go through the other results, and then we're going to get to Will at the end of this shortened show. Because I am solo, any comments are hugely appreciated, FYI. So if, as we talk about different things, you have something to say, please do so. Let's get right into it. This week we had Niagara Falls, biggest Collins tournament on the calendar this year. Jason and Sue have done a hell of a job with that tournament. I did something a little bit different this year. I've been to the 4 previous versions of Niagara Falls and played that event. That's when they offered an NWL or TWL, I guess at the time, option. This time I came by just to visit. So I came by on Sunday, basically during the last round, and wanted to go say hi to people and stuff like that. And of course, listen, whenever you go to a tournament and you see people that you like and and all that kind of stuff, it's always great to see them and stuff like that. Here's what I would recommend. If you want to do that in the middle of the tournament. Don't necessarily do it right at the end, because I was surprised. While some people, I got my usual kind of reception. Oh, Josh, it's great to see you, blah, 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 and me saying the same thing in return. This time was a little bit different. There were some people who did not maybe do what they expected to do, and it just wasn't exactly the same. So it was an interesting phenomenon to notice, and certainly not, I don't think not being a Collins player had anything to do with it. I think it was all about showing up right at the end. And someone just says, where's the other Josh? Oh, I see. Where's Josh or the other experts, Adam? That's a good point. This is going to be a solo show. So yeah, that's what we're doing. So that's my story of road trip to Niagara Falls. It was, anyway. That's what the story is. Other than my favorite part of the story is I got to Niagara Falls and back for $10 return from Toronto, which is one of my favorite things about Niagara Falls. The next news item on the list is advisory board elections. So I know the advisory board does not have the most profile within NASPA, and I've said many times on this show that there are certain advantages to being on the advisory board if you want to work on particular types of projects or get certain things funded by NASPA, stuff like that, and there are certainly those benefits. But the AEB also does other things like decide the format, whether we're going to have playoffs at our nationals, decide on things like they'll be involved in different types of disciplinary appeals and stuff like that. And really, there's a lot of stuff that gets discussed at those meetings, is what I would say. So anyway, we had sort of a non-election because there were 3 territories that were open for voting, and there were 3 candidates, and so they started to just move some people around, and it all went through. So number 1 I continue on in my advisory board seat. No one ran against me for what's called the at-large position, which means I am regionless, I guess. So I have some level of responsibility for, representing the interests of all players. So anyway, I get to continue that for another 2 years. I've been very happy serving in that position for 4 years already. This will take it up to 6. So I'm pretty excited. And the fact that I didn't have to do any electioneering is a nice benefit. The other 2 regions were the U.S. West and U.S. South. So there were 2 candidates for U.S. South, and that would be Mike Willis and Andy Huang. I hope I'm saying that right. And some kind of compromise was worked out. That's good. Jeffrey Spearson says he's watching while on the treadmill. Some kind of compromise was worked out where they took one of the South candidates, Mike Willis, and put him as a 1-year designate into the U.S. West. I don't know what their plan is from that point in terms of the elective cycle and stuff like that. But that's what's going to happen. So the 3 people who wanted to be on the board are going to continue on the board. And so the elections are kind of a non-event this year, which, I guess kind of works out for me because it's a lot less work. I put a lot of work into that when I've run in my previous 2 elections. Here we go. I think Heidi is right on. That is a comms failure, though. How so, Heidi? Because people didn't know about the opportunity to join in, something like that. Is that what you mean? That's what's going on with the elections. It's a non-event this year. Hopefully next year, that was going on. Oh, I see. Who knew those elections were even happening? Well, one thing that I would suggest everybody do is an easy way to keep advised as to what's going on with those types of events is sign up for the NASPA news. That's something that's pretty easy to do. And there's always, little bits and pieces in there, even if you don't read the whole thing all the way through. Or subscribe to Facebook feeds. But I don't know how prevalent it was in Facebook. That's actually a good question. Okay, that's Scrabble elections. NASC, I saw the numbers jump a little bit. We went from, I believe, 261 last week to 271 this week. So I think that means 10 people paid with the additional time penalty, but I could be wrong. I don't know. But inching more towards 300, that's sort of what the models predict for this year at this point, 300. I talked to all about it last week, what I thought of that number. I also want to talk about an upcoming tournament, and that's the Albany 4th of July tournament. I always just want to say Annette's Albany 4th of July tournament. In case you haven't heard, Kieran O'Connor and I have taken on the quest to look after those tournaments after Annette's passing. And the results so far, in terms of people signing up for that tournament, have been great. So last year, the event drew 82 people. We're already tracking at 87. So I've got a strong belief. I think it's probably helped by the fact that NASC is all the way out in Reno, and you can get like 30 games in Albany at the time. So we're tracking towards 100 people. Okay. And absolutely, Jason. That's a shed of the tear for sure. One of the unique things we're going to be doing in Albany this year is we're going to have a memorial for Annette. That's going to take place at her house, like the barbecue did every year. So anyway, I would just encourage you to come, because I think, especially if you're not able to make it to Reno, you can make up those games in Albany. We've got good turnout across sort of all ratings levels. So there's going to be a variety of opponents, and there's going to be this mix of, competition and camaraderie like there is at all Scrabble tournaments, but also probably some poignancy since it'll be the first tournament without Annette. So we're doing a couple of things to work on that. We're going to be blowing up some pictures. There's some really beautiful pictures that Roger Coleman took and displaying them in the playroom. We're doing the memorial, like I said, and we're coming up with more stuff. So Anyway, if you're on the fence about that, I just would really encourage you to go. Okay, let's get into some of the results from this past week. We are going to first talk about Nashville. So Nashville is a place that I would love to go to for Scrabble. If you've been to Nashville before for Scrabble, or for any reason, throw it out in the comments there. Nashville just seems like, anyway, I can't wait to go to Nashville. So I am going to plan that at some point. Let's take a look at who were the winners in Nashville. So first of all, we've got this beautiful couple, Austin Chin and Lindsay Crotty, who played in a relatively small Collins field. I think it was 4 people, but they swept all of the prizes, the 2 of them. So that's what's going on there. In the C division, I'm covering a little bit of Roger Freeman's face there. But the C division was won by the wonderfully named, how great a name is this, Twyla Belfleur. That is an unbelievable name. I have not met Twyla, but congratulations to her at 13-2. Coming in second place was Celia Thompson. Third place was Amy Fahimi. And then for Division C, we've got an overseed with Grace and a high game with Roger. That's what's going on there. Let's go now to Division B. And we've got Andy Gardner taking down this division. Then we got 3 contestants at 10-5, second through fourth. And that's Caesar, David, and Leslie coming in second, third, and fourth there. I like one thing that I like about this tournament that I think we should do more of. Is and Jason Keller just said that he was on the campus at Vanderbilt for a Quiz Bowl championship. Jason Keller is really good at trivia, but says would love to explore the city a bit more. So Jason, give me a call. Let's go to Nashville sometime. Okay, what I really like about this tournament is when they did the winner photos, and I don't know if this is Robin Lewis. That's who I contacted to get these photos and stuff. But I don't know what was going on, but they see how they're all holding up cardboard. It says I won Division B and, second place or whatever it is. And I kind of like that. I think that's cool. All right. Division A, we've got David Gibson just romping 15-0. I don't even know if that constitutes as news anymore when David Gibson goes undefeated in a tournament. But then we've got second place Sid Morale and third place Chris Schneider. So that's what happened in Nashville. It looked like a good time. And again, I can't wait to go join those folks in Nashville at some point. Now, let's move on to the main event of recaps. And that would be... I'm showing you here a quiet moment at the tournament, but this would be the Niagara Falls International Open. Now, there's a lot of history to this event. This is the 5th year that it's been running. This is the year where they eliminated a TWL or NWL division. I think for a variety of reasons. These are certainly not quotes. I've spoken with Sue and Jason at length about these things, but these are, I guess, my opinion of what's in their thoughts. I mean, I think, one, they didn't want to have, however many they had last year, 150 people or, whatever it is. But just because it's a lot of work to work with that kind of tournament. And secondly, the idea that there's a lot of momentum coming, from Jason and Sue, certainly, and some of their friends for Collins, pushing Collins. So I think all of those things kind of together combine to make this a Collins only tournament. That's why I did not play. Hey, look, Sue just joined the broadcast. Hi, Sue. We're talking about Niagara. So anyway, this is one of the very nice touches that they do. They hang up all the flags of the different players who are playing. Jason and Sue, if you don't know Jason and Sue, you can always go to our YouTube page and look for archived episodes. Jackson and I did a whole episode profiling Jason and Sue that included interviews and all that kind of stuff. This is the This is like the dream team behind the director's table. We've got Kieran and Vince and Julie, who were all taking care of the players. Obviously, Sue is the director of the event, and Jason is the organizer, but they certainly count on these guys. And then I think Julie's boyfriend, Kevin, maybe, is also helping out, but he is not pictured here. So we also had live games being broadcast. Whether or not you tuned in for any of those, if anybody tuned into them, you can certainly throw a comment in. They were streamed to Twitch. I just worked out a deal with Craig Beavers, who did, I think, the majority of the work, along with some technical help from Vince, to get those games broadcast. We're going to get those recordings and we're going to put them up on the NASPA YouTube page. So look for that in a week, 2 weeks, something like that. It's a lot of work to put up 21 games onto YouTube. It's a surprising amount of work, is what I would say. And I will be doing that. So one of the cool things about Niagara Falls is, of course, that Niagara Falls is like, kind of a smallish town, right? And or as someone that I was hanging out with there on Sunday night called it a fake town. It doesn't feel like a real town. Like it's all about, hey, Rashad, we were just talking about broadcasting, my friend. Good to see you. It's kind of a fake town because it's all just like tourist stuff and then the rest of the town is behind it. But one of the things you get to do, because everybody is so close, is they all get to go for dinner. This was one particular group. Jason Keller commented earlier. We can see him in that picture. One of the things that I heard, maybe Jason Keller can confirm or deny this rumor, but apparently they played, I don't know what you call it, Czech roulette? Yeah, I think that's what you call it, Czech roulette, where there were 10 people at the dinner. Everybody throws a credit card in the middle, and I guess the waitress picks one out, and that person gets to pay for the entire meal, which my understanding came to about $670. So that's what you get if you play Czech roulette. You either get a free meal or a story to remember for a while. So I thought that was a fun story. We talked a bunch about Jason and Sue. This is a lovely picture of these guys taking a nap during one of the afternoon. There we go. Credit card roulette. Thank you, Jason. So I'm going to take that as confirmation that it actually happened. So lovely picture of Jason and Sue. This just goes to show, I mean, I can tell you from my experience working at tournaments and stuff like that, that it can be a lot of work. So anyway, I just loved this picture. So if you're a fan of Jason and Sue, certainly shout them out in the comments. Okay, let's get on to some of the action at Niagara. This was probably one of the more talked about games. This was Gabe Gauthier-Chalot, who I got to hang out with and have drinks with on Sunday night. He overslept, I guess, and got a call from Sue, which woke him up, and he ran down to the venue and literally had 24 seconds left on his clock. He almost had none because as he was going through the lobby, security yelled at him to say no running. You can only walk. So literally he had 24 seconds, and then of course, listen, you've heard this story. I've heard this story a zillion times. He goes on to win the game, right? He goes a minute 30 over or something like that. He plays the entire game in 2 minutes, and he wins the game. So I don't even know what to say. 24 seconds is an extreme version of this story. I've been late to a tournament before because of some ridiculousness that happened at a tournament, and I had less than 5 minutes on my clock and managed to win, still going overtime. So to have 24 seconds, that's pretty extreme. I've heard that Adam Logan's best story was 22 seconds left on his clock when he went on to win. We certainly know Winters had wins like that, and a bunch of people. So at first I was like, well, this isn't that big a deal, but 24 seconds seems like a pretty big deal. And if you're that person who is sitting there. You guys sit there for, in this case, 24 minutes and 36 seconds for your opponent to show up, and they show up with 24 seconds. Just know I feel like at this point, it's just probably not going to go your way, which is kind of crazy, but I really think it's true. Let's get on to some of the winners. We've got Division B. We've got, and listen, I try to do my best with names, but this is a Bikini Adaway. I know it's Adaway, who comes in. He was Gibsonized over the last couple of rounds, I think, at 17-4 plus 1107. He picks up the, I don't know what they call it, light division, probably they call it. He picks up that win. Also, oh, there we go. Coolest story ever. Listen, I agree it's a cool story. I just think there are like 10 or 12 of them that just I know of. Okay, let's move on to, this was the other big story. Let's, I didn't show. Sorry, I didn't change the picture. There's Attaway's picture. All right, I don't want to skip that picture. So he wins the light division, and then certainly one of the big stories coming out of the tournament was Noah Slatkoff taking 6th place as the 39th seed in the top division. He finished ahead of some, pretty significant names. If you look at the way that ranking goes, wink, wink. I know certainly one of those significant names is in the comments. So really impressive performance by this kid. Picks up 229 rating points, goes 14-7 plus 247 against a field that just totally includes like world champions and North American champions. And it's really pretty incredible. So, the question is... the question is, I don't know what that means. The scandal, Adam. I don't know what scandal you're talking about. And Cornelia, absolutely. Noah was like off the charts. So the ceiling just couldn't be higher on what this kid is going to do if he sticks with it. And we'll see what happens. That'll certainly be something. And I also know that Noah watches the show regularly. He's always asking me who's going to be on the show. So anyway, big shout out to Noah. The runner-up in the main event at 16-5 was Dave Wiegand, a former winner of Niagara Falls and a former national champion. So anyway, great performance again. It just speaks to the strength of this field. And the winner was, as you've probably heard, was Adam Logan coming in the last round, I believe coming from behind to win the event in the last game. So fantastic job, 16-5 plus 1672. There we go. Check out Winter's Facebook page for more. Oh, now I know what you're talking about, Adam. Yes, absolutely. There's lots of speculation as to what Noah's future is going to be, and some of that. That's why I'm being very light and just saying the sky's the limit for this kid and not placing any lexicon expectations on him. Okay, Adam Logan, congratulations, picking up Niagara. Now, let's talk about the future of this event. Now, I had a video. Let me just see. I'm just going to try adding this video again because maybe it is in the wrong format, and that's why I cannot see it. Okay, we'll come back to that. But there's some significant future plans for this tournament, which are pretty exciting. Damn, I wish I had this clip for you because that was part of the reason that I went there. I'm just going to take 1 second and just look for it. Just the worst. Let's go to downloads. Yeah, I do not know what happened to this clip, folks. But basically, it's Jason Brosma doing the winner announcements, and then he talks about the future of the tournaments. It was an incomplete clip anyway, so I'm just going to summarize what's going on. I also reached out to him for comment tonight just to clarify a couple of things that he was talking about. Number one, we talked about, the schedule now is going to shift a little bit. So this tournament has traditionally been held in May or June, but like it flips around. Last year, it was held in conjunction with Nationals. Next year, it's going to be held in conjunction or very close to the Labor Day tournament in Ottawa. So what they're going to do is play Niagara Falls. Then there'll be like a late bird for Niagara Falls, which is a new thing. Then there'll be a couple days off. Then there'll be a pub tournament in, I think, Ottawa. And then there'll be a 3-day event in Ottawa. And it's like over a week and a half, you'll get a chance to, if you play all of it, you'll play 64 games, I think, is the number, which is pretty crazy. So lots of options there to play. The big headline is that this tournament has been sponsored in the past. Ellie Dangour made a couple of years, I believe, made donations to this tournament in terms of prize money. They have a new sponsor for this tournament, and that is Bob Lynn, Robert Lynn on Cross Tables, I think. But Bob Lynn, longtime Collins players, is putting in $10,000 US for 1 year, which is like, that's just a huge amount of money. So, this is going to be a must tournament and I'm talking about the Niagara Falls tournament here, obviously. That money is going to go to build up more Collins representation, make this a bigger event. So that was very exciting when that was revealed. And of course, for those of you TWLers or NWLers out there, the idea is this tournament from this point forward, at least planned, is it going to be a Collins only event. It's going to be an international tournament, and that's what the deal is. So something unique on the schedule, and you'll hear from lots of people who suggest, look, learn your 19-2s and go collect some of that $10,000 US. So anyway, I think it's all super exciting, and what Jason and Sue are doing is pretty awesome, given that across NASPA, this probably in Ontario it's shifted a little more, but across NASPA, I mean, over 75% of all games are TWL. I think just recently Collins games tipped up to 21% or something. So in Ontario, it's a little more in favor, but you're really swimming uphill when you make your event the one lexicon that not as many people play. But they're doing a hell of a job in bringing people in from overseas, and I think it's so exciting. So that's your wrap on Niagara Falls. Now, we're reaching the end of the show. I said we were going to be shorter tonight. God, it's already been 30 minutes. It's just that there's no way to keep it so short. There's so much news. I teased that we were going to talk about Will Anderson's shocking news. Now, if you don't know who Will Anderson is, then maybe you should get out from under that rock that you've been living in. I don't know if Will is here in the comments. He's usually active in the comments. But Will, certainly one of the nicest guys in Scrabble, one of the easiest guys to root for, 2017 North American Scrabble champion, but also a guy who plays both lexicons. Who won Niagara Falls last year, who was on the Alchemist Cup team that came in second in the world. Did they come in second? I think they came in second. And just in case you've forgotten how nice a guy Will is, I'm going to show a 48-second video that is some of my favorite video that I have ever taken, and it's an interview question that I asked Will, one of my favorite questions of all time, and one of my favorite answer of all time is what I'm going to say. It's right up there with something Marlon told me once, but here we go. Here's Will for 48 seconds, and then we'll come back and I'll do the big reveal. Here we go.
I'm going to ask you one more question. What does the game of Scrabble in this community mean to you?
It means an incredible amount. Basically, I can trace the inflection point of my life getting considerably better and happier to the introduction of Scrabble. It's been just a total life changer. So many of my best friends I've met through Scrabble. It's just a wonderful community. It's one that I'm really proud to be a part of, and I have no plans to change that anytime soon. So
wonderful.
I don't think we're going to do any better than that. Congratulations, Will. Awesome job.
Well played, Will. Congratulations.
So just listen, electricity runs through me when I watch that clip. When he says that what the community means to him is it like Scrabble literally changed the inflection point of his life. Whenever I remind him of that speech, he remembers none of it because he literally had just won the championship. But so eloquent. What an answer. I love /tier, says Will Anderson. And Heidi says, according to Winter, the Captain America of Scrabble experts. So sure, love it. So anyway, the big news, which Will, in the comments on my particular feed, can confirm or deny. Here's the deal. Will signed up for Nationals under Collins. There's a lot of speculation as to what was going on there. Will has stated that he wants to be on the 2020 Alchemist Cup team. His Collins rating is a little bit depressed because he keeps flipping back and forth between lexicons. His rating doesn't exactly live up to what his skill level is. And I think I'm not saying that's objective fact, but that's other experts think that that's the case, certainly. So what he told me, the big scoop, is that he's thinking about switching over to NWL. Now, we talked about why that was. So this really changes the balance. If you look at who's registered at Nationals, like that puts... all right, Noah says he beat Will in game 1, so maybe it's not that big a deal, but so Will going over to NWL certainly changes what the betting odds, so to speak, would be on the NWL side, and it also has equal changes over on the Collins side. So if you're looking at those rosters and thinking about who could win, that's certainly something we're going to do on this show as we approach Nationals. That is a big move. One of the things NASPA did, I think, last year... Hey, James Curley. One of the things NASPA did last year was make it, there was a fee, an administrative fee of $25 to switch divisions. So Will's got to decide whether or not he's going to cough up the $25, but we had a lot of talk about equity and what were the chances Will could win one division or the other. And Will, of course, being very humble, didn't give himself a very high chance in either one. Like, certainly didn't say, oh, I think I can probably win it. But if you look at the prize money and what the percentage chance of winning those are, it seemed like there was an equity play to switch over. And he also said he loved to, he used the word troll, but basically, he loved looking at it when people would, expect or have their expectations subverted, let's say. When it comes to the whole lexicon thing. The bottom line is we're all one big family. Sure, we play some different flavors of Scrabble, but that doesn't mean we can't be friends. And even if Will did... There you go. There you go, Will. James Curley just offered to pay $25 for you to switch. All right, that is also breaking news. I want to know if that actually happens. But anyway, my point is we're all one big happy family. If Will did decide to go over to CSW all the way, then he'd still be my friend. I hope the feeling is mutual. Adam Henderson says he's rooting for Jackson Smiley. I don't know, Adam. I got to tell you, I spent a lot of time with Jackson Smiley. We know that he's out in the wilderness somewhere. He's not studying. I don't like his chances. But there we go. So that is NASPA Tonight for this week. I want to thank all of you for watching, for commenting, for continuing to support this show by just, by just watching it. One thing that would be awesome, if you haven't done so already, we put all the back shows on NASPA YouTube. You go to YouTube, you search NASPA Scrabble. If you have a Gmail account, that means you can subscribe to YouTube channels, and that is what I ask of you. So as we get more people on there, more people see our content. YouTube likes us better. They present it to more people. So it's just a win-win all around for Scrabble and for me personally. So yeah, if you can subscribe, that'd be great. And the other thing that I always say every week is support your local directors. They're working hard for you. Keep playing Scrabble. It's fun. It's awesome. Thanks for joining me tonight. I'm sorry I didn't have some, expert on the show, but it feels like there was enough to talk about for 37 minutes. Thanks for spending that time with me, and we will see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.